very, very short notice, but this is important that we get onto it. It is timely. I've got with me the CEO of the REI and the President of the REI, that's NSW, that is, and that's the only people that really should actually care about what we're talking about this afternoon is people in New South Wales. The two most popular people in real estate in the last 24 hours are these two people, because everyone's confused. And by the way, guys and girls, I'm pumped because have a look at that.
Oh, nice.
I got it today.
Well done.
Fire's number one. So I've got to wait through.
I got mine last night, Tom, at 5:45. Have you got, where is it?
What'd you get? Did you get Pfizer?
Yeah, I did. Did you see this? That's what
Beautiful.
I got.
And listen, guys, I hate every time, because there is two groups of people I've noticed, and then, one's bigger than the other. When people talk about, I'll wait, I don't believe in it, conspiracy theories. All I'll say to you is this: the science is black and white. Like, COVID does exist, right? And I just think it sort of makes sense that you follow the science. And as soon as more people get immunized, I think it'll be less of a problem. But that's not the focus of today. So I want to talk about, I'll just throw questions and then you just sort of both chime in. Listing presentations, can an agent tomorrow? So let's break it up. Let's talk about the people that are Sydney, Central Coast, South Coast, Shore Harbour, where else? Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's turn around and say there's these two groups of people. There's the people that we just described and the rest of New South Wales. So let's focus in first on the Sydney, South Coast, Central Coast, Blue Mountains. Can they go to a listing presentation during the 2 weeks?
So, Tom, at this stage, I'd have to have an educated guess at that. I've had a look at the order. Obviously, I've had a very good look at the order. That's the public health order. My view is that yes, you can do that, but unlike what it says about auctions and inspections, which is spelt out exactly there, they actually make those points in the order. This particular area of agency practice, they haven't gone to. But in my view, an interpretation of that would permit you to do it. But as you said, Tom, is it possible to delay this? I know that I'm going to get yelled at from all directions, but if you're happy to be able to make those phone calls, set those meetings up, I suppose if you don't go and do it, somebody else will. So you've got a gun to your head to go and do it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Leanne, do you want to add to that?
You can actually leave home for work. You can actually, and if somebody's inviting you into their home to do an appraisal, so long as you're masked and you do all those sorts of things, we believe that it is correct. But we are going to confirm that with Fair Trading tomorrow morning. Yeah. So we'll certainly let you know.
So Leanne and Tim, from what I've read is that if you go in and do a listing presentation, which can be required as to do the proper job of a listing presentation, one would assume it would be a better job done if you walked inside the house, right? So to me, that says that you can, that you'd have a mask on, that your client would have a mask on, that in the ideal world that there'd only be one other person there, like, not a couple, you and one other person there. And I would presume the same could be said about a range of things in real estate, in sales, be it, a final inspection before settlement, be it a second inspection before they put a 10% deposit down, be it a vendor meeting, an important meeting. So I get the impression that if it's got to be part of the business that you can do it. But the truth is, guys, a lot of agents over the last few months have actually got pretty intelligent with Zoom and having Zoom vendor meetings and actually having an intelligent virtual conversations with people and using things like DocuSign to do deals. But the one I want to talk to you about is I get the impression you can definitely take a buyer to a property as a private appointment.
Yeah, you can do that, Tom. There's no question about that.
But only one.
You can only take one.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets, I guess, a little bit messy for people to understand. Going back to your earlier example, you could only take one person into the property for an inspection. But if you are doing an appraisal, then the way I read it, that you could go into the property even though you've got a couple in the property. So there's I guess the difference. And the reason you can do that is the public health order doesn't count the people who live in the property as being people for the calculation purposes. So,
right.
It is a bit odd, but we're working through that.
Okay. Now, I have a view that in times like this, most people can actually not have to go into the office to do their work. I actually think smart people, even before what happened yesterday, smart people actually have a blended approach to work now. But let's assume that you're one of these people that's watching this right now and you say, no, I want to ask, can I go into my office? My understanding is you can go, but you're going to be wearing a mask inside the office. And
you can go if you can't do the work anywhere else. So that's
right.
That's the thing, right? And so some of our people can do their work from home, but some can't, particularly at this time of the month, the end of not only end of month, but end of the financial year. So yeah, that is what they've said. If you can't work from home.
Yeah. I get the impression, Leanne, that there's going to be today is the 27th. The end of the month is going to fall during this week, right?
Sure.
So I can presume there's going to be people watching this at PM people that are going to say, no, I've got to go in. My boss needs me to go in there. And what we're saying is, if it has to, let's assume that it can't be done any other way. You can, but you'll be wearing a mask internally, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And 4 square metre rule applies.
4 square metre rule applies. So by the way, so we're talking right now about the Sydney. We're talking about those we're talking about Sydney and those Central Coast, South
Actually,
Coast.
4 square metre rule applies everywhere.
Yeah.
So 4 square metre rule applies everywhere.
Correct.
Okay. All righty. So can I just deviate a little bit to the people that aren't in that Sydney plus those other 3 areas, Blue Mountains, Central Coast, and South Coast? What can they do and not do? They've been impacted by this. Yeah.
So they can have on-site auctions. They can have opens, as you normally would. However, they've got to have a COVID safety plan, which again, for all of us, they're even taking somebody into the premises as an individual. I think you do need a COVID safety plan, but we're trying to get to the bottom of that. But certainly for the regional areas, you must have a COVID safety plan. I think it is either mandatory that you register it, or I strongly advise that you register it. And the reason I say that is if there are updates, then you will get those updates and be notified of them, so you can amend your COVID safety plan as is required. In relation to working in the office or working at home, for our regional friends, if the employee wants to work at home, then the boss has to allow them to do that, unless the boss determines that they have to come into the office. So it's kind of the reverse of what we've talked about for the Greater Sydney area.
Okay.
We've got a couple of questions here, Tom.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, there's questions, there's questions on there, but there's questions on Facebook. So what if the property is tenanted? Are we still able to have an open for inspection? And we're talking
you can't do opens unless
you can't do opens, but Leanne, if you're in the regional part.
If you're in the regional. And I mean, the reality is, if the tenant says no, what are you going to do? I think you've got to be reasonable, because as Tim rightly pointed out a little while ago in another conversation, it's going to take then it's an NCAT issue if the tenant says no, and it's going to take more than the 2 weeks that we're in lockdown. So I think you've got to be a little bit reasonable and sensible. If your tenant says no, it's going to be very difficult to do anything about it.
Okay, can I ask, routine inspections on properties there's another question there that's come in, routine inspections. And again, if you're in the regional areas, you can, I presume you can in the metro areas as well with a mask.
You can, Tom. So you can go into a property if you are to go there under a legal obligation or to do work. So so that's acceptable or permissible, sorry.
Okay, now, I had a couple, and it really annoyed me. There were some agents babbling about how intelligent they were, and it's absolutely dumb doing opens yesterday and doing auctions, right? Whatever you've done, and that's stupid, because I actually still think you might get into trouble, because there's plenty of consumers out there.
Particularly if I know who you are, because
Exactly
I won't
right.
have any issue with reporting it, because it's appalling.
Appalling, disgraceful. Everyone's fighting around and people are thinking smart, they're going to get away with it. But so the one auction I did have, I brought it forward on Friday night, which was in Forest Lodge, which fell into that inner city area. But there's a lot of auctions, gang. There's a lot of auctions in the next 2 weeks. On Tuesday, I am going to do a Zoom video on how to do auctions online, and I'm going to rely on people in Melbourne that have done this before, and they're going to run through some of it. Plus, I know I'm going to have you guys, because I realize the way this thing is panning out is every hour, every few hours, you become a little bit more educated with interpreting what the government is saying to you. So I'd love tomorrow again, we chat, or Tuesday. But auctions and open houses, zero. No. You can potentially pivot and have your auctions on Saturday go ahead using online options, like, you know.
And we had great clearance rates yesterday, Tom. It was over 80%, the preliminary clearance rate yesterday. So a lot of online auctions sold. It's it's just a matter of pivoting, as you say, and getting the technology sorted out.
Yeah. So I reckon what we've just covered, like, to me, that's the mate. Like, I think they're the things that the average, I'm just having a look here. So a lot of people are saying on my Facebook that this seems to be a lot better than it was in Victoria. And maybe it probably is, you know, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, we got really clear advice on opens and auctions very quickly, and I'm going to put my hand up on Tim's behalf to take a bit of credit for that, because Tim worked so hard last time to get that clarity and to ensure that real estate was still able to actually happen in this state. So don't think this has happened by accident. This has happened because Tim worked so damn hard last time around.
He does. And I've got to tell you, I've seen Leanne. He called me 2 weeks ago and he pushed hard. He called me on a Saturday. Oh, sorry, it might have been Peter. But no, Tim called me afterwards. We're going to talk about that other issue, Tim, because at the moment, you know, like, there's it's the issue about the commissioner and fair trading, right? So we won't talk about it today, but I do know that it is highly important to you and the REI. But as that Jerry Seinfeld episode, I'll never forget it, when Jerry Seinfeld goes, if you've got blood pouring off your body onto your shirt and it's pouring on, maybe laundry's not your biggest problem at the moment. And I think we'll just put that aside for 2 or 3 days just to get through this. Guys, keep up the good work. The REI, their frontline workers, they're helping the agents stay out of trouble, still try and get by. And is there anything else, like, you reckon that is any bits there that you think, this is important as well that we haven't covered?
No, I don't think so, Tom. I guess there's only a couple of just minor things, and that is the QR codes when you this is for our regional folks, obviously, if you're out there.
Well, QR code for the QR codes for Sydney and the others, they're not that relevant now because you can't do anything, Can you? Like,
No,
you're not
that's right. So I'm saying out in the regional areas, it will be important. QR
Unless you have got people coming into your office. So
Right.
if you've got, tradespeople that need to come in and get keys, or people coming in for settlements or that kind of thing, you do need to QR code then.
Yeah, and just Tom, just a couple of just very, I guess, minor stuff. If you are in the Greater Sydney area, where the more restrictions are, don't go into the regional area. If you're in the regional area, don't go into the Greater Sydney area. Stay where you live or stay where you operate. However, some people must do that. So if you are driving from the regional area through the metro area and back out, don't get out your car. You are allowed to do that, but don't.
Oh, right. So that's like, if you hypothetically, like, I know you wouldn't do this, but if you lived in Dubbo and you drove to your office in Newtown, you can. Is that what you're saying? You can do it?
No. Well, you can do that also, but if you do that, you are going to be captured as soon as you get out of your car. So I'm thinking more that you had to do a loop through someone. I can't think of an example other than by way of an example I had. I was in South Australia in January, I think it was, and I had to get into New South Wales. And to do that, I had to drive through Victoria. It was just cutting the corner of Victoria. I didn't get out of my car, but as soon as I got into New South Wales, because they'd been tracking my phone, they rang me and said, right, you've been in Victoria. Now, we're taking a far more pragmatic approach, and we're saying if you have to do that, if you have to drive through the metropolitan area, the Greater Sydney area, and you don't get out of your car, that's okay. You won't be captured by the requirements of the Greater Sydney area, which is obviously far more draconian than outside.
Okay, there's another question that we didn't answer. It's come from Divine Real Estate. Can two agents from one office attend a listing together? Well, listen, that doesn't really happen that often, right? So if it did have to happen during those 2 weeks, like, don't let it happen those two. I mean, I don't think it's something that's common, and I would probably say just be cautious. Like, there's no need that, there's no need that the two of you have to go together. Yeah.
So I agree 110% of everything you've just said, but the answer to that is, unfortunately, that you can, in my view, an interpretation of the order,
right,
because you are going there to do work. You're not counted as somebody that is there. But like I said, 110% agree with you. I can't think of a reason why in these 2 weeks why you couldn't at least just have the one person going.
We've just got to understand what we're trying to achieve here and why we're doing it. So instead of looking at all the ways around what we have to do, understand the spirit of what the government is asking of us. Yes, we've still got to do our jobs and we've still got to look after our clients, but we need to be sensible and do it in a COVID safe way.
Yeah, this is a life and death thing, Tom. I think when we really look at it.
Yeah, listen, I don't take it. Look, everyone's got different views, and people turn around and say, oh, but how many people die and this and that. I mean, listen, this has been a big issue for over a year and a half now. And it appears like, if you look at the research, this Delta and the Delta plus one, these things are at a different level to what we had before. I mean, these things here seem to be double at least contagious. And I've got to say, if you look around what's going around in the world, places that are far more vaccinated are still having issues. So it is a serious issue, and I don't think sitting down with a paradigm thinking, hey, what can I get away with under these current laws? I don't think that's the approach. I think what you should be saying is, what can I do to contribute in this situation? Not what can I do to actually, take loops and shortcuts, That's what I think. And I reckon the community and the public are going to like us a little bit more if we think and act and behave in that way.
Yeah, completely agree.
Guys, keep up the
there's
good
another
work.
question that's come in about photo shoots. Can you conduct photo shoots of the property?
Again, whilst not specifically spelled out in the orders, if you are there to do work, then again, my interpretation is yes, you can go and do that. But please take this for what it is. We've been working on Sunday to try and get an understanding of this. We are going to be pushing out more information tomorrow, Tom. We might do something tomorrow with you as well, if that's all right.
Listen, I totally respect what you're doing, because the truth of the matter is you both could have said, listen, we don't have enough concrete, definitive information. Let's just leave it for 24 hours. But no, you're sort of saying is, hey, this is what we think it is, because we'd like you to be able to go to the, your work the way you do it tomorrow, having some information than no information, right? And you've done that. And the truth is that it's not, a 200 million%. This is your do and do not guide for the next 2 weeks. But I think what we've done is had enough information here today to let people know what they can and can't do based on what we know right now, Tim.
I think so.
All righty. I've noticed Leanne has disappeared off the screen, and I've noticed also Susan has. So I'm not sure what's happened. But Tim, keep up the good work. We'll probably speak to you tomorrow. He's got the big banner there. Support the REINSW. They're your frontline worker, everyone. Guys and girls signing off. Hey, by the way, it would be really, really good. A big New South Wales win in the rugby league and a big Sydney FC win in the grand final versus Melbourne City.
Yeah, let's hope for that. That's a great idea.
All righty. Thanks a lot.
Talk to you
Bye-bye.
again. Bye, mate.